Most people are waiting. Waiting for permission. Waiting for proof. Waiting for someone to finally look at them and say, "You're ready." That moment never comes. Not because you aren't ready. Not because you lack the talent, the drive, or the raw material of greatness. But because the world doesn't hand out permission slips. It never has. The ones who changed history, who built empires from nothing, who became undeniable, they didn't wait. They decided before the results, before the applause, before a single person believed in them. They acted as if. There's a quiet, almost dangerous power in those three words. Act as if you are the best. Not pretend, not fake it, not perform confidence like a costume you put on for interviews. This is something deeper. Something that lives in the choices you make at 5 in the morning when no one is watching. In the standards you hold when quitting would be so much easier. In the voice you choose to listen to when fear gets loud. This isn't about arrogance. The best never needed to announce themselves. This video is your blueprint. 7 chapters. 7 shifts in how you think, move, and show up. By the end, you won't just believe in your potential, you'll be living inside it. If you're ready to stop waiting and start deciding, drop "I'm in the comments right now. Let's begin. Every transformation has a starting point, and it's almost never the moment the world sees. It's not the championship, it's not the promotion, it's not the viral post or the public breakthrough. The real starting point is quieter than that. It happens in a moment most people will never witness, the moment you make a decision about who you are. Muhammad Ali didn't become the greatest when he beat Sonny Liston. He became it years before, in gyms that smelled like sweat and leather, in pre-dawn mornings when the city was still asleep, when the only audience was his own reflection. He decided first. The world just eventually caught up. That's the truth they don't teach you. Identity is not a reward for achievement. Identity is the engine of achievement. Think about how you currently talk to yourself. Think about the story you carry when things get hard. Most people operate from a story that says, "I'll believe in myself when I see results." But here's the brutal inversion of that logic. Results follow belief, not the other way around. The version of you that keeps waiting for external validation will keep waiting, indefinitely, because the goalposts never stop moving for someone who hasn't decided who they are. So what does deciding actually look like? It's not a speech. It's not a journal entry, though those can help. Deciding looks like this. You wake up tomorrow and you make every single choice. How you speak, how you carry yourself, what you tolerate, what you refuse to accept, as the best version of yourself would. Not someday. Tomorrow. Starting with the next hour. William James, one of the founding fathers of modern psychology, put it simply. Act as if what you do makes a difference, because it does. Every action you take is a vote for the identity you're building, a vote that no one else gets to cast for you. The decision is available to you right now, not after you lose the weight, not after the business takes off. Now. That's your first turn. You've just crossed the threshold. Here's where it gets hard. And it will get hard. That's not pessimism. That's just honesty. The moment you decide to show up differently, something inside you pushes back. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. Your brain, wired for consistency and survival, doesn't automatically celebrate your new identity. It questions it. It whispers, "Who do you think you are?" It drags up every failure, every embarrassing memory, every person who told you that you weren't enough. It does this not to destroy you, but because that's what brains do. They protect the familiar. The problem is that familiar is often the enemy of great. Kobe Bryant talked about this. the internal war between the version of yourself that wants comfort and the version that's capable of something extraordinary. He didn't pretend the fear wasn't there. He trained alongside it. He made discomfort such a routine part of his day that his nervous system stopped treating it as a threat. That's not talent. That's a practice. So what does the war inside you actually look like? It looks like starting your morning routine and then scrolling your phone instead. It looks like making a commitment and then negotiating with yourself 5 minutes later. It looks like wanting to speak up in the room and then swallowing your voice. Small surrenders, daily, that compound into a life that looks nothing like the one you imagined. The answer isn't to fight yourself harder. That approach burns people out. The answer is to make the identity stronger than the resistance. When your actions are anchored to who you are rather than how you feel, they become non-negotiable. You don't argue with brushing your teeth. You don't negotiate with breathing. The best version of you should feel the same way about the standards you set. Epictetus said it plainly. You have power over your mind, not over outside events. The war inside you is the only war that matters, and you can win it, not by eliminating doubt, but by refusing to let doubt lead. That's the shift, from passenger to driver, from reacting to deciding. This is the pivot. This is where everything you've decided, everything you've committed to, has to come down from the level of intention and land in the real world, in your schedule, in your habits, in the unglamorous, unsexy details of how you actually spend your time. Because here's the truth that separates the people who talk about being the best from the people who actually become it. The best have a standard, not a mood. Most people operate based on how they feel. They train when motivated. They work hard when inspired. They show up fully when the conditions are right. But motivation is unreliable. Inspiration is inconsistent. Conditions are almost never perfect. And if you're waiting for all three to align before you perform at your highest level, you'll spend most of your life waiting. The daily standard is different. It's a non-negotiable baseline. The minimum acceptable level of effort, focus, and integrity you bring to every single day, regardless of how tired you are, regardless of what happened yesterday, regardless of whether anyone notices. Michael Jordan didn't have good practice days and bad practice days the way his teammates did. He had a standard, and that standard showed up whether he felt like it or not. What does a daily standard look like in practice? It starts with your morning, not with what you consume, but with what you produce first. Before you check your phone, before you absorb the world's noise, you do something that belongs to you, something that reinforces who you are. It doesn't have to be dramatic. 30 minutes of focused work, a workout, 10 pages of a book. The content matters less than the pattern. You are training your identity every morning, whether you realize it or not. Then it extends into how you speak. The best don't complain publicly. Not because they don't struggle, they do. But because complaint is a vote for victimhood, and they've already voted for something else. They extend it into how they handle setbacks, how they respond to criticism, how they treat people when no one powerful is watching. Set your standard, write it down if you have to. Then hold it tomorrow, not forever, just tomorrow, and then the day after that. That's how the best are built, one non-negotiable day at a time. This is the hardest chapter, not because the concepts are complicated, because this is the one that feels personal. There will be, or maybe already is, a season in your life where you're putting in the work, holding the standard, acting like the best, and getting nothing back. No results yet, no recognition, no one pulling you aside to say, I see what you're doing, keep going. The silence is loud. The invisibility is suffocating. And somewhere in that silence, the most dangerous question starts to form. What if I'm wrong about myself? This is pinch point 2, the place where most people quietly give up. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a slow, almost imperceptible retreat back to who they used to be. Don't. Seneca wrote that it is not because things are difficult that we don't dare. It's because we don't dare that things become difficult. The difficulty of this season isn't a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's almost always a sign that you're on the right one. The right path is hard. It was designed to be, because it's the one that filters out everyone who wasn't serious. Here's what you hold on to when no one believes in you. You believe in you. That has to be enough. Not as a consolation prize, as the only vote that was ever going to matter in the end. Every person who achieved something extraordinary went through a version of this chapter. The season of invisible effort. The period where their belief had to outweigh every external signal telling them to stop. Think about what that means for you right now. The work you're doing that no one sees is not wasted. It is accumulating, like pressure building under the surface, like a root system growing deep before the tree ever shows above the ground. You don't need an audience to grow. You need consistency. You need the quiet, stubborn refusal to let other people's disbelief become your own. Believe harder. Work quieter. Results don't ask for your timeline. They respond to your effort. Something starts to shift. It doesn't arrive with a trumpet blast or a single defining moment. It comes quietly, almost sideways, the way dawn doesn't announce itself, but simply makes the darkness impossible to maintain. You've been holding your standard. You've been showing up through the silence. And now the compound effect begins to reveal itself. This is plot turn 2. The point where internal identity starts producing visible, external results. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, describes it as crossing the plateau of latent potential. You put in weeks, months of work and see almost nothing. Then, seemingly overnight, everything accelerates. But it wasn't overnight. It was the accumulation of every choice you made when results were invisible. Every morning you held your standard. Every moment you chose your identity over your comfort. That was all building, quietly, invisibly, toward this. Here's what compounding looks like in the context of acting like the best. Your confidence, which started as a decision, becomes a reputation, first with yourself, then with the people around you. Your discipline, which started as effort, becomes a default. You stop having to convince yourself to do the work because the work has become part of who you are. Your standards, which once felt like a performance, become a filter. You naturally attract opportunities, relationships, and environments that match the level you've committed to. People start to notice, not because you changed how you present yourself on the outside, but because something in you has genuinely solidified. There's a difference between someone performing confidence and someone who has earned their own respect. The world responds to that difference, even when it can't quite articulate why. This is the moment you realize that acting as if wasn't a lie you were telling yourself. It was a prophecy you were fulfilling. The gap between who you decided to be and who you actually are has been narrowing every single day, and now it's starting to close. You are no longer becoming the best. You are being it. You've done the work, not the dramatic one-time kind, the quiet, daily, unglamorous kind. And now you're standing at the resolution of the journey you started back in segment 1, except it doesn't feel like a finish line. It feels like a foundation. That's the thing about becoming your best self. It doesn't end, but it does shift. The heaviness of trying lifts. The constant negotiation with yourself quiets. What used to cost you enormous willpower now flows from something deeper. You've stopped acting as if and started simply acting as. The if is gone. The distance between your identity and your behavior has collapsed. This is what Marcus Aurelius pointed to his entire life. Not the achievement of some fixed end state, but the continuous, daily practice of becoming. The Stoics never promised you a destination. They promised you a direction. And a direction held consistently will always beat a destination that's never pursued. So what does your new identity actually look like? It looks like a person who doesn't need external validation to feel settled. Someone who faces a hard day not with dread, but with readiness. Someone whose standards don't fluctuate with their emotions. Someone who, when the inevitable setbacks come, and they will, gets back up with speed and without extended self-pity. Not because they're invincible, because they know who they are. Your new identity doesn't make you immune to struggle. It makes you equipped for it. There's a profound difference. The person you were at the start of this video waited for the storm to pass. The person you are now walks through it, differently, deliberately, without losing the thread of who you've become. Here's the invitation that this resolution carries. Don't guard this identity jealously, like something fragile. Live it openly. Let it be tested. Let it evolve. Because the best version of you isn't a fixed image. It's a commitment you renew every morning. You've crossed the threshold. Now stay on the other side. 7 chapters. 1 truth. You are the best. Not because the world confirmed it, not because your results prove it yet, but because you decided it, because you showed up for it, because you held the standard when no one was watching and kept going when everything pushed back. That's not a small thing. That's everything. Here's your final charge. Tomorrow morning, before the world gets loud, make one decision that the best version of you would make. Just one. Then do it again the day after. That's not motivation. That's a practice. And a practice sustained over time becomes a life. Act as if, because you already are. Now go prove it. If this hit home, if something in you shifted today, drop a comment below. I am the best. Say it like you mean it, because you do. And if you want more of this,